I'm Jolene Wynn, and this is the Porn Addict's Wife podcast, episode number 129, Self-Trust. Your life does not have to revolve around your husband's pornography addiction. You are not defined by his choices or by what he sees on a screen. You are not just the porn addict's wife. You are so much more. In this podcast, I'm going to teach you how to go from handling it to healed, because I've been where you are and you don't have to stay there. My name is Jolene Wynn. I'm a member of the LDS Faith, a certified life coach, and a wife of a former porn addict. And this is a podcast for the porn addict's wife. Hello, my ladies. How are you? Happy Halloween. This is coming out on Halloween, October 31st. You know, personally, I think that Halloween, as a parent, I think Halloween should be on the last Saturday of October. I think we need to change it from the 31st of October to the last Saturday of October, because who wants to, schools have just decided to give the kids the day off of Halloween, but really it's the day after Halloween. Can you imagine being a teacher? Are any of you guys teachers? The day after Halloween? Oh, that's what Rob, so my husband's a dentist, right? And he treats kids. He's a pediatric dentist. And he says the day after Halloween is the worst day of the year. Every parent forgets about it, and their kids have stayed up super late and are super grumpy and only ate sugar the day before. And so they're just kind of an emotional mess. And he says it's the worst day of work and of the whole year. And I wonder if it's like that at school. It's got to be like that at school too, right? Like all the kids are just exhausted because they stayed up so late and all they ate was sugar. We're homeschooling, so I guess I'll find out because I'm their teacher, but they get to sleep in on Tuesday because we homeschool. So our schedule is more flexible. But Halloween is going to be great this year. My kids and I only dress up if we are doing a group costume, like as a whole family. So I am dressing up this year because all of us decided to be Romans. We were discussing it probably at the beginning of September, and talking about what they wanted to be for Halloween so that I could buy costumes, so that I could have time to return the costumes if they were the wrong size. And so we decided to be Romans, and the kids got all excited about it, and we decided to study Rome as part of history. So for the last couple of months in homeschool, we have been learning about Rome, and so we're all Romans. We've got some gladiators and, some Roman empresses, and we look pretty legit. So if you guys follow me on Instagram at Jolene Wynn Coaching, I'll post some pictures there tomorrow of our Halloween costume. We did get to put them on for our church Halloween party, which was this weekend. And I will say we looked pretty amazing. So treat yourself, ladies. Go follow me on Instagram. You can see our Halloween costumes. I hope you guys are safe today on Halloween. And this last week was so fun. If you guys joined me, then you guys know last week we did a How to Trust masterclass. Last week, Monday through Thursday, I did a live Zoom call every day, and I taught we kind of progressively taught about trust and how to start trusting again in your relationship, especially after there has been a betrayal. So that is what we focused on all last week, and it was so good. I have taught some of this material before, but I had never taught it organized in this way, and I had a brand new concept on the final day, which is what you guys are going to get a sneak peek of today on the podcast, which is self-trust. And it was so good, you guys, and the content was so good, and everybody had such good questions. The coaching was amazing, and I wanted to make that accessible to y'all because it was just such a fantastic week, and the content, I really just want all of you guys to have access to it. So it was $19 for those who came live, and I decided to turn it into an evergreen course so that you guys who weren't able to come live can still get access to all the material. So I made it into a course that's $59, and you get access to all of the material. And that is something that you can find if you go to thepornaddictswife.thinkific.com. This is where I host all of my material. So you can also find it if you go to my website, jolenewynn.com. If you go to the Work With Me and you click on the button that says, I'm ready to start today, it will take you to my Thinkific platform. It's just a hosting website. You will see the How to Trust Masterclass as an option that you can purchase. Again, it's $59. It doesn't expire. You get access to all of it, all the videos from replays from all of the days. And ladies, if you are struggling with trust, I really want to encourage you to go get that and watch it. Even if you have purchased, I turned something else into an evergreen course earlier this year. It was like a little How to Trust Coach Week, and I turned it into a How to Trust mini course. Even if you bought that one, go get this one. This content is organized so much better. And again, the last day we talked about self-trust, which is what I'm going to hit a little bit on this podcast. But it really is something that I have watched over the last few months and I have learned is really the key to trusting others, trusting your husband again, is figuring out how to trust yourself, why you don't trust yourself, how to make good decisions, how to trust those decisions. And we talked all about that on that last day. So I would really encourage y'all, again, go to thepornaddictswife.thinkific.com. I'll put a link in the show notes so you can just tap it and you can go get that and start accessing all that material right away. And then I did want to remind y'all that my prices are going up on November 15th. So you just have about 2 weeks left at the regular price, and then they're going to increase and it'll be $1,000 more. So right now it's $3,000 to get into my lifetime access coaching program, and it's going to go up to $4,000. So if you are wanting to get in, now is the best time because it is cheaper than it's going to be. So go ahead and you can just sign up right away. If you want to, you can sign up for a consultation call with me. You can do that through my website. Or if you know that you want to just sign up, then you can also do that through my website. Just go to jolenewind.com. You can go to the Work With Me page. All of the information is on there. You can sign up right away. There's 2 payment options. You can sign up for a pay in full, which gives you a discount, a 10% off. Or you can do a payment plan option, which is very popular. All it does is it just takes the payment and it splits it up over 6 months. So every 30 days, a payment comes out, $500 until the 6 months is over, and then you still get continued access. It doesn't end at 6 months, just the payments end at 6 months. Ladies, this is a lifetime access coaching program, okay? I want you to be able to come join and get all the help that you need. And if you guys, again, if you want, all the details are on my website, jolenewind.com, and prices go up November 15th. So get in today, all right? Okay, ladies, today I want to talk about self-trust. Like I said, this is a concept, this is a common thread that over my years of coaching, all of the clients that I've had, this is the common denominator that I have seen with distrust. Okay, so last week I talked about distrust and anxiety. And if you are struggling with distrust or anxiety about your husband, his behavior, his addiction, all of those things, then as I have coached more and more women, I started to see this common thread. And the common thread was that if they didn't trust their husband, not all of them, actually 100% of them, actually didn't trust themselves. And that's what I want to talk about today. When we think about self-trust, a lot of times what we do, and especially in regards to making decisions, right? Deciding to trust someone, deciding not to trust someone. When we think about that, it often brings up our own insecurities. What if? What if I decide to trust him and then he lies again, right? Do you guys see this? Have you guys ever felt this? What this is doing, and you guys, this is an advanced concept today. So what I want you to do, actually, I should have said this before. If you guys haven't yet, pause the podcast, go listen to, I did an episode early on called To Trust or Not to Trust. Go listen to that one first. And then I did another podcast episode called Conscious Trust. I want you to go listen to those 2 and then come back. Okay? If this is your first podcast episode, go listen to those 2 first and then come back. Okay? It's okay. Stay with me. Advanced concept here, okay? So we often think that what our brain thinks is that we can only trust ourselves to make decisions when the outcome or the result of those decisions is what we want. You guys follow me? Our brain looks at our past, at the decisions that we've made in the past, and says, okay, when I made that decision, what was the result? Was it positive? Was it negative? Was it the result that I expected or was it not? And if we have a long track record of making decisions that have positive outcomes, then our brain thinks that we can trust ourselves more to make more decisions, more good decisions. Now, in the trust How to Trust masterclass that I taught last week, one of the questions that I asked those who came to the calls live, I said, how do you know if something is a good decision or not? First, I asked if they trusted themselves to make good decisions. I said, do you trust yourself to make a good decision? And I want you to answer instinctively. I would encourage you guys to do this right here, listening. Ready? Don't think about it. Just answer instinctively. Yes or no. Do you trust yourself to make good decisions? Yes or no? Now, what was fascinating about the answers that I got, and again, guys, go buy this course so that you can watch this. It was so fascinating. Most of the women said no. And one of them even said, until you asked me this, I would have said yes. I would have said yes. Of course I trust myself. But actually asking myself that question, I'm realizing the answer is no. And then when I asked them why, because all of them said, no, I don't trust myself to make good decisions. All of them said, because they've made decisions in the past that turned out to be negative, right? That turned out to have negative consequences, or I felt negatively about what happened as a result. Okay? Isn't this so fascinating? So when you think about, okay, what makes a good decision then? If you don't trust yourself to make good decisions, what actually determines whether or not something is a good decision? Answer that just in your brain right now. You can pause this. In your brain, everybody's going to have a different answer. How do you know if something is a good decision or not? Right? We already know whether or not you just answered whether or not you trust yourself to make a good decision. Yes or no? How do you know if something's a good decision or not? Most of the women said it was because of a result of the consequences of that decision. That's how they knew if it was good or not. And that's what so often happens in our brain. Our brain says it's only a good decision if the outcome is what I expected or positive. Now, what I want to offer to you ladies today is that a good decision is simply a decision that you make, that you decide is good. That's it. That's what makes a good decision. It's something that you decide on purpose, and whether, regardless of the consequences, regardless of the results of that decision, the decision is good simply because you made it, simply because it's the best decision that you made for yourself at the time with the information that you were given and your ability at the time. Most of us want to say that the results, the consequences of our choices are what determine whether or not it was good. The problem with this is that what happens as a result, especially when it's other people that are involved, then we end up determining whether or not we trust ourselves. We leave it kind of contingent on the results of another person. Okay, let me give this in an example so it's not so very confusing, okay? If you are deciding whether or not you want to trust your husband, okay, that's the decision. If you say that you can only trust yourself if the result of that decision is what you want, and the result of that decision and what you want is for him to not lie and for him to be honest and for him to tell the truth, what you are doing is leaving whether or not you trust yourself in the hands of him and his choices. Do you see this? If I say, okay, I am only going to trust myself to make this decision if I choose to trust him if he is honest, well, that's not actually in my control. Okay? So if I think that my good decisions, my ability to make good decisions is contingent on the results, but the results are actually in the control of another person, then I am handing away all of the power to control my life and the ability to trust myself to make choices. I'm not leaving it up to me. I'm leaving it up to him and whether or not he does what I want him to do, which I have no control over. Do you guys see how backwards this is? And we don't even realize we're doing it. We hand over our ability to trust ourselves by the way that we think about good choices and the way that we trust ourselves to make decisions, the way we think about results and consequences of our choices. If you think that the only way, whoa, sorry. If you think, I'm not even going to edit that. If you guys think that the only way to trust yourself is based on the results of that decision and the results that you're looking for are him changing his behavior, you are leaving your life and your ability to trust yourself in the control of another human being. That is not what your life is about. Self-trust isn't about trusting yourself as long as it goes the way you think it goes, or the way that you want it to go, or the way you expect it to go, or the way that it was supposed to happen in your brain. Self-trust is trusting yourself to make the best decision that you can in that moment, regardless of the consequences. It's not even thinking about the consequences. I mean, yes, you consider the consequences, but it's knowing, it's having belief in yourself, that you know yourself, that you've taken in all the factors, all the considerations, and you're making the best choice for yourself that you can in that moment with the information that you've been given. That is self-trust, and that's how you make good decisions. A good decision is a decision that you make that you decide is good. That's it. Do you guys want to know how you get better at it? You practice. You know how to trust yourself making decisions? You start practicing making decisions. Little ones, big ones. Where do you want to go out to eat? Rather than saying, I don't know, you make a decision and you practice trusting yourself to make a decision, even if it was a terrible experience at the restaurant you chose. That doesn't mean it was a poor decision. That doesn't mean it was the wrong one. You made a decision. Good. Congratulations. It was a great choice because you made it. Okay? Most of us want to take the result of the choice and make it mean something about the choice. Okay? When the results of that choice are in the hands of another person, you are giving away all of your control. Whether or not you trust yourself or someone else has nothing to do with their behavior. You can decide to trust your husband, and you can decide not to trust your husband. Either one, I don't care. You choose. And either one can be the right decision simply because you made it, and it's not dependent on his actions. Okay? Does this make sense? You can trust that that decision was the right one for you simply because you made it. And you can change that later if you want to. It doesn't have to be the one that you set in stone forever. But you make the decision based on the information that you're given and believing, having confidence in yourself to make that choice. Really what I discussed in this class, again, go watch it. You guys, go sign up and watch it because we go so much deeper, okay? And I feel like I can be so much more clear because it's on video and I have a board where I'm writing things out and giving definitions, and it's so much easier to comprehend than just listening on audio to a podcast. But one of the things that one of the things that we brought up is that self-trust really is about vulnerability, okay? It's difficult. Our brain doesn't want us to trust ourselves. It wants our self-trust, the ability to trust ourselves, to be contingent on the other person because it abdicates responsibility, right? But the problem with abdicating responsibility is that then you have no control over what's happening. Really, the key to self-trust is vulnerability. It's about the willingness to get hurt. The willingness to feel. That's what vulnerability is, right? Now, our brain is wired for self-protection, which is the opposite of vulnerability. Our brain is wired for safety. Our brain is wired to keep us alive, to protect us, to keep us in the cave, which is why it's so scary to trust ourselves to make decisions that are new and different. If we decide, what if we get hurt? If I decide to trust him and then I have no control over his behavior. So if I decide to trust him and then he lies, then what? Well, then you might feel a little negative emotion. But guess what? Even if you decided not to trust him and you expected him to lie, if he lies, you're probably going to feel negative emotion anyway. Okay? Self-trust requires vulnerability. It requires saying, this is the best that I can do right now. And I know that I have no control over the consequences of the other person, at least in the context of what we're talking about, right? With trusting another person. I have no control over his behavior, but I'm willing to trust him anyway, right? That's vulnerability. I'm willing to trust him even though I know I might get hurt. Willing to feel vulnerable. Vulnerable is just an emotion, ladies. You can feel vulnerable. And if you're willing to feel vulnerable, then you can be willing to trust yourself to make decisions where that might be a possibility, the possibility of feeling vulnerable. I was actually just talking to you guys, I'm going to get emotional. I was just on the phone with my babysitter. She's not my babysitter anymore, you guys. She's in college. Okay. But she's been babysitting for me since she was 12. Like, I love this girl immensely. She just has the softest, like, I just have a special place in my heart for her. And she is struggling right now emotionally and mentally. And I just got off the phone with her and I was talking to her about a decision that she wants to make. And I said, what is the worst that can happen? And she was like, well, what if I'm a failure? So I taught her a little bit about what it means to feel failure versus being a failure. And we talked more and more about it. And what she said, she told me the decision she wanted to make. And I said, okay. And how do you feel about that decision? And she said, I'm scared. Ladies, making new decisions is going to feel a little scary. That's your brain wanting you to stay in the cave. That's the self-protection mechanism. That's the part of the brain that says we shouldn't trust ourselves to make decisions, because what if something happens that we don't expect? What if something awful happens, like a negative emotion? This is when you are smarter than your brain. You have to be smarter than your brain, and you remind your brain that it's okay. It's okay to feel scared. It's Halloween. People feel scared on purpose all the time on Halloween. They go to haunted houses. They watch scary movies. They decorate their yard with like creepy things that make noise when you walk by, and they jump out at people, and people love it. People feel fear, feel scared on purpose on Halloween all the time. And yet when we are making decisions, our brain thinks that feeling fear is a bad idea and that we shouldn't trust ourselves to make that decision because we feel afraid. Because our brain is playing the what if game. It's its very favorite game. What if we're terrible at it? What if we fail? What if he lies? What if I decide to trust him and then he lies? What if the result of this decision is not what I'm hoping for? What if I find out? What if I try something and I fail at it? What if I'm horrible at it? What if somebody laughs at me? What if he says no? Whatever our fear is, ladies, our brain wants that fear to lead to distrust of ourselves. Ladies, what I want to offer is that you can trust yourself regardless of the consequences of your decisions. The consequences, the results of that choice don't mean it was a bad choice. You made the best decision that you could in the moment. And that doesn't mean that you want to go back and replay and redo all the mistakes that you've made in your life. That's not what I'm saying, okay? I have made mistakes in my life. I have done things I'm not proud of, things that I wouldn't necessarily repeat. And yet, I don't have to take the results of those choices and make it mean that I can't trust myself, right? I can trust myself to make decisions. I can have compassion for who I was in those moments when I made what I consider wrong choices. And I don't have to judge myself for them or make it mean that I can't trust myself to make decisions because once upon a time I made a choice and it had a negative result, or there was a result that led to negative emotion. I can still trust myself to make decisions. You can still trust yourself to make decisions. But if you don't trust yourself, you're going to have a really hard time trusting other people ever. Because your brain is going to operate the same way. If you will find that you don't trust your husband, I really want to encourage you guys to ask these questions. Do you trust yourself? Answer instinctively, yes or no. If the answer is no, I really want to encourage you all to come sign up for coaching so I can help you work through it. Because the only way that you ever start to trust yourself is when you start learning to just practice making decisions. You just start making decisions. If you can't trust yourself to make decisions, if you don't trust yourself to make decisions, the only cure is to start making decisions. That's it. Okay? Your brain thinks it's really important to catalog all the evidence. Okay, well, I made this choice and it led to this and that was bad, therefore I can't trust myself. No. I made the best decision that I could in that moment. Was there some negative emotion afterward as a result? Totally. Does it mean it was the wrong choice? No. One of the fascinating things that got brought up on these calls was the women were saying, I know if it's a good decision if everyone else is happy. If you guys have a definition of a good choice like that, throw it away right now, especially if you're a parent. You guys, there are so many times where I have made a decision as a parent and my children were very unhappy as a result. Okay? That did not mean it was a bad decision. Okay? I keep them from running out in the street. Are they happy about it? No. Does that mean it was a bad decision? No. In fact, it was the best decision I could make for myself and for them. Have you ever broken up with someone and you knew it was the right choice and they were totally upset? Yeah. Does that mean it was the wrong choice because everybody wasn't happy? No, it may have been the best decision you ever made. The consequences, the results, the way other people feel are not our gauge of whether or not something is a good choice for us. Okay? And you have no control over other people's emotions. So you can't control that part anyway. You could make the best choice, the choice that you think is going to lead to the most positive results, and someone could hate you for it. It's totally fine. Okay? You have no control over other people's emotions, and their emotions are not your responsibility. And that's not how we gauge whether or not something is a good choice. Because it can be a really good choice for us, and they could feel negatively about it. It's totally fine. Ladies, you cannot make decisions or leave your self-trust, your ability to trust yourself to make decisions based on other people's feelings or behaviors. It has nothing to do with them. Whether or not you trust yourself to make decisions is internal. It's entirely up to you. It's entirely about your thoughts and your feelings. And this is the best news ever, because then you don't have to wait for your husband to start being honest for you to start deciding whether or not you want to trust him. You get to make that decision, and I don't care which one it is. Decide to trust him, decide not to. But don't do it. Don't make that decision based on his actions. That would be a mistake. Because his actions are not in your control. And when you make decisions, when you decide to trust yourself based on the results of someone else's actions, you are leaving yourself at the mercy of another person's behavior. Okay? We don't even realize that we're doing this most of the time. Most of the time, we just think we're just going. And that, of course, I can't trust him. He lied. Or I want to trust him, but what if he lies? All of that is putting yourself at the mercy of his behavior. And I want to give you guys permission to shift the way that you think about self-trust. Shift the way that you think about trusting yourself to make decisions. Because you can. It's entirely within your control. Go sign up for this class. I promise you, ladies, you will not regret it. And I hope that you guys just make one decision today. Trust yourself to make one decision. And you just make one every single day. That's it. That's all you need. In order to start trusting yourself to make decisions, all you have to do is just practice making them. That's it. What do I want to do today? Make a decision. Don't sit in I don't know. Make a decision. That's it. How do I want to move forward? Make a decision. Do it. And then you follow through. It's not just about deciding. It's not just about deciding as an action. It's purposefully, intentionally thinking and then taking action. And that's how you practice becoming better at making decisions, trusting yourself to make decisions. Ladies, you deserve a life that is not contingent on someone else's behavior. That's what I want for you. Okay, so start practicing trusting yourself. You can do it. I believe in you. I love you ladies so much. I hope you guys have a great week. Happy Halloween, and I'll talk to you next week. So take care. All right, ladies, if you are loving what you are learning on the podcast, I want to invite you to come join my coaching program. This is where we take it to the next level and we actually start applying and learning the how of moving forward. This podcast has taught you the what, and the coaching program is where you're going to learn the how. This is where you learn how to actually start moving forward, process all of that pain that you feel, and let it go once and for all. If you are ready to finally move forward and stop living a life that revolves around your husband's pornography addiction, then I want to invite you to come join me today. Just head to my website, jolenewind.com, and sign up today. I can't wait to see you there.